Croeso nôl, welcome back to Fearless in Devotion, the Wrexham AFC podcast, sponsored by, as you all know by now, the Fat Boar Bar and Restaurant, Fat Boar, yeah, and assorted sister restaurants and sister bars. How many are there, Tim? Name them.
Oh no, I'm not naming them. You've got the carnivore. You've got obviously the peak one that we just mentioned, the Fat Boar. There's the one that's reopened in Mould, which is the Fat Boar. There is the Buck. There's the Buck in Bangor, which has now become under the old Bardon Rich ownership.
Nice.
And
there's the Mice Gwyn.
Yeah. And there's the Mice Gwyn.
Let's catch it there because of interest to our Hill Street, of course. But visiting fans, of course, coming to Wrexham. If you're new Wrexham fans listening to this podcast, the Mice Gwyn is a must go to, isn't it? On match day for a pint. But anyway, let's move on. Thank you to the Fat Ball for covering our costs as always. Disappointing weekend though. We lost to Newport 1-0 at Rodney Parade. I think three of us were there. Myself, Andy, and Tim. Liam, as we know, doesn't leave Wrexham unless it's the FA Cup.
Yeah, Blackburn.
And very, you must be very glad he didn't go yesterday because that was pretty grim, Andy.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Okay, there's mitigating circumstances, and I'm sure we're going to get into that. But the whole sort of play on the field. I know, we were losing Fletcher. We looked at the team and thought, oh, I'm not so sure. But we've said this before, and Parkinson's pulled it out of the bag. So you can't go in with a negative attitude. So we all started quite brightly. I thought it was quite a clean slate, and then what happened. And I think a lot of people thought that they were justified in what they thought before by saying that they were worried he was playing. Let's get into it. Come on,
we love a witch hunt. Shall we chase Will Boyle out of the out of Wrexham with pitchforks, Tim?
No, because we're better than that. We have to be better than that. If Will Boyle stays on the pitch, we still don't win that game.
We were poor, weren't we? Poor start.
I know Parky's trying to put a bit of a top hat on it in his post-match comments, but if he stays on, we're still not getting any. We were just second best from start to finish, and like for me, I mean, we always praise the team, and we mostly have praised the team because of what they've been producing week after week after week. But obviously, you have to criticize fairly, and I think the criticism is fully justified on this occasion. I just think it was probably, for me, one of the most uninspired performances under Parky. I'd probably even include the Stockport hammering in that, because at least we give it some sort of go in the second half. There was just nothing. The passing was off. I thought it was bad.
I'm going to bring in some mitigating circumstances. I mean, the obvious one is the red, right? My feelings at 15 minutes were, we're not playing well here. Newport they weren't really creating anything, but they were dominating play. There were some sloppy passes at the back going out, getting to touch. But I wasn't too worried because we pretty much always start slowly, and especially away. And I wasn't that worried at all. I thought, right, this game is going to be tight. Not many goals in this, and we might nick one. Once the red card happened, you could just write it off essentially. The mitigating stuff, the pitch was bobbly, and I think they struggled to adapt to it. It's not an excuse because it's the same for both sides, but I think it just added to the fact that they struggled. And the plus side, if we're searching for anything, I realize this is a bit, clinging on to barely anything here, Andy, but it just, Newport didn't really as in they didn't create a huge amount in the second half. There was a 10-15 minute period in the second half where we had a bit of a second wind, and Barnett was causing them some trouble, but it's not like Newport absolutely put us to the sword.
No, they did not. And to be honest, the header for the goal was an absolutely brilliant header.
It was lovely.
Yeah. 6 or 7 times out of time, he doesn't score that. And if he doesn't, their crowd gets more and more on their back because they should be winning. It could have been a different game. It could have been a different game. I like the fact that Parky changed things in the second half. Yeah. He realised that we don't have any pace, so he tried to bait Barnett further up to try and expose expose that, maybe get Newport on the back foot a little bit. I do think we have to talk about if we thought it was a red card, because when I saw it in real time, I thought no. I was standing next to Tim, who said he's going to go here. He's going to go here. Or was it Lewis? One of them just sort of said, right.
It was Lewis, but I kind of was puffing my cheeks out in kind of
preparation. You were preparing yourself for the worst, because the referee did not see it. He did not see it at all. So the lino's given
irrelevant.
Yeah.
The lino, Liam, you watching it from home, we were watching it there from different angles. What was your gut instinct?
I don't know if it was so much from what I saw of the tackle, but more the commentary. They immediately sounded like they thought he was going. So inevitably, I did. Watching it, I think it's in the heat of the moment. I thought it was probably a yellow card, but I'm conscious that officials in this league always seem to lean towards the harsher conclusion. And I think watching it a good few times afterwards, I think it was probably the right decision. The follow through and how high his foot was, I don't think you can argue too much.
I always go on, Tim.
I was just saying, so let's have a straight up around the room, straightforward yes or no, if it was a red or not. Liam's gone yes. I think Andy, you've confirmed.
I'm in two things. I mean, just
call it
yeah. The game for so long, no, but in today's current rules, it's a yes. It is a red card.
Rhys.
No.
Okay. Why?
I just think so if you kick a ball, just take it away from that one at the moment. If you kick a ball and your foot comes up because you're following through and it hits someone who's standing right in front of you, is that a red card? And if you hit them with your studs up, I don't understand.
It is because he got sent off.
Yeah, sorry, but as in like in the laws of the game, in the rules of the game, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing, because everyone goes, "Oh, studs up." It's like, well, there's nothing in the rules about studs up. That's just a euphemism. That's just a cliche that people have got in their heads over. The rule is whether it's, I can't remember the exact wording, isn't it reckless or whatever?
Out of control.
Out of control. You could make an argument it was out of control, to be fair.
Right, but both his feet aren't off the ground, though, are they? There's only one. So,
exactly.
So one is behind him. Now, the other thing is, the Newport player, I don't know how much it actually touches him, but obviously he sort of crunches up and sort of jumps in the air and then flips to one side, doesn't he? So, yeah, I mean, he's always going to do that, because our players would do that, and if they didn't, why not?
And I say no without being. I could totally see why they're giving it, and I'm not moaning at all. I genuinely get it, and I'm happy to chalk that one off. Not a problem. But yeah, in my heart of hearts, I don't think that should be a challenge like that. Should be a red card, really, unless they're confident that he has deliberately or recklessly lifted his foot like that, which I don't think he did.
Well, he hasn't angled his foot towards him, really, has he? His foot's just been.
No, he's kicked the ball and his leg has just followed up.
Yeah. But also, he hasn't put it down, if you know what I mean. So there's two levels. Yeah. He's not gone up and gone, right, I'm going to get you, but he hasn't gone, oh God, this could be.
I think it was the challenge of a person who's not played a lot of football recently. Was sort of my gut instinct. But yeah, I think it was red.
I don't
think it was a red.
I think it was. I think it was because contextually he's kind of give the linesman an easy decision to make, because he loses control of the ball to begin with. Then I think he's overstretching.
Yeah,
I think he's a yard behind. He feels like a twat that he's lost control in a dangerous position, so he goes in, overstretches, committed. Of course, he's committed. It's not malicious. And so, I mean, if you look at Parky's post-match presser, he doesn't castigate the referee.
Can't hang him out to dry. You can't hang him out to dry.
No, he can't hang him out to dry.
No, and to be fair, I'm not hanging the referee out to dry either.
No.
It's a typical. The lino's seen that in a split second. He's seen studs hit just below the knee. To be honest, I could totally see why he's giving it, maybe it is red. I don't know.
Parky, for me, I think he just kind of. I think he was masking his disappointment for the sending off, both on the decision made and for Boyle in making the challenge. I think that's the way I saw it. I put a poll out yesterday. We had nearly 2,000 votes. 43% it was 100% a red, 36% no, and 21% said no, he won the ball. So, quite quite a close vote in that regard.
Interesting, you know, mate. I was reading the replies under that, and it was interesting that there was two
Yeah.
no, never a red, and
Very
then
polarizing,
two,
isn't it?
yeah, very
The-
very
the-
straight down the line.
the-
Wrexham
the-
fans as well.
Oh shit!
The thing is, I mean,
My
it
door's
goes
just
back,
come off its hinges, so I'm gonna have to go and deal with an incident.
go and do that while we fill the void. Go
Which
do that
door?
now.
The shed door.
You know,
Oh,
he's either talking about the storm that's currently hit Wales, or a cowboy's just burst into Reese's man shed.
This
No,
is
this is
potentially
actually a serious incident. I'll try and show you.
Andy's about to do.
I don't know what I'm
Andy's-
going to do because there's a storm, and I now. Oh, let me show you my.
Andy's
my
about to do his best Michael Caine impression about blowing the bloody
I
doors off. Go on,
tried, but
go on, hit us with your Michael Caine impression, Andy.
That
Oh,
door
wow.
just come off.
oh,
oh,
okay.
shit.
bit of
For
tea cut
the-
to sort that. Straight
And,
out.
it's and it's
for
the
those-
90 miles per hour winds coming tonight. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's grim. It's grim. Out
Right,
just,
okay.
just before we move on away from the Boyle thing, isn't it weird that I think if we'd have said any of those other defenders had been sent off, we would be sat here going, it might have been a different game if we'd had him on the pitch. But because it's Boyle, we're like, it doesn't make much difference. And that is a slight on him. He's probably done himself a disservice by getting the opportunity to come back in with so many injuries elsewhere. And it's backfired pretty spectacularly, really. So where does that leave him for you?
Well, for me, I mean, I just don't think he fits the way that we're playing anymore. Parky now knows that the way to really get after games is with ball playing centre halves. Boyle is not a ball playing centre half. He is a percentages man. You'd be great probably against Blackburn or somewhere like that, where you're not going to have as much of the possession, but you will want to head everything away and tackle everything. Yeah, Boyle will be fine for that, but we're not in that position at the moment. We need our centre halves to come out with the ball and start attacks, because if we just get in it and twatting it as high in the air as we can, well, we're not going to make hay. And that was what was a lot of the problem with the start of the season, why we had such a sluggish start. And we've learned to play a little bit more football now, especially at home. So I don't think Boyle fits into that, and that's probably not Boyle's fault. It's not his fault that Parkinson bought him from Huddersfield. So I'd be very surprised if he stayed past the end of the season. But who knows? We might have an injury crisis. He might come in and all of a sudden he's a hero again. That could happen. That's how football works, isn't it?
We're all watching Rhys's laptop camera to see if he gets
My existential crisis.
like in an aeroplane.
I'm just about to come in and say, I think I've got to go, lads. I'm just looking at this with not a clue what I'm going to do, because the wind's so strong. I've got nothing that's going to be able to protect my lovely Wrexham artwork on the wall.
Are the hinges come off?
Yeah, so the door was closed. It's a patio doors, and the doors opened up. It's a bit of a funny handle, so sometimes the latch isn't amazing. And with the wind has just taken it, opened it at such a velocity that it's come off the hinges, and I think they've snapped.
Your microphone's also gone really loud. You sound like a panicked airline pilot.
Mayday! The sheds are blowing through. Right. Okay, Rhys, I think you need to go and sort that out.
I'm going to wish you the best, gents. And what did I have to say? One thing I was going to say, first 15 minutes, I didn't think Boyle was particularly any worse than any other defenders. So anything on that is a bit harsh. Anyway, have a good one.
Right. You've broken your neck, Rhys.
Well,
that guy comes back. He comes back for one pod, and his fucking door falls off. What is the use of that guy?
The levels this lad will go through to get out of this podcast is pretty.
Yeah, I reckon his heavily pregnant good lady was standing the other side, pulling the door off, going like this. Now, and then he's lads, we shed doors blowing off.
Right, this is one thing that Liam sort of mentioned earlier, that there was a lot of furore around this performance and this loss, and a lot of people. So I saw someone on the Facebook chat saying Parky out. I don't know if it's a piss take or not, but are we a little bit entitled? Do we sort of feel that that we're Wrexham and we shouldn't lose anymore, because we are going to lose matches, and I think we better get used to it. Liam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's an element of people being spoilt has crept in very gradually. We're going to lose matches, and it's perfectly normal. Fair enough in a campaign like last season where you're going toe to toe with another team who are on course for 100 odd points, and there's only one automatic position. I sort of get why it might seem like a disaster when we lose, but when there's 3 automatic positions, you can afford to lose more games. It doesn't have to be this existential crisis every time we lose. There's people saying, "Oh, the coaching's not very good," or "Oh, is it the medical team because we got so many injuries?" I'm just like, well, look, we're still second at the end of the day, and more often than not, we tend to respond quite well to bad results. So I can see what like. To be honest, I mean, I'm saying this from the perspective of someone who wasn't there. I can imagine if you've travelled to Newport or what have you, it's really frustrating and that type of thing. But I think it just helps sometimes just to have a bit of perspective. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying. I am still to some degree just, it sounds daft, but just enjoying playing these sort of fixtures again. We've been spoilt for decent fixtures lately, and they're not going to all go your way though, unfortunately.
No, can I just sort of mention more the broad? We'll probably come back to this point, but can I just mention a bit more broader around the away day experience? I mean, I think we don't know how lucky we are. No other sport really does this. No country does this to this level. It's our culture to go away in such big numbers, and the geography allows us to do it. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed yesterday meeting people at the coach station a couple of hours before kickoff. Paul Hughes came. I didn't even know he was coming. He was on our coach. I had a good chat on the way down, a couple of beers. We had a pint in the pub right by the railway station, talked to some of the locals. We packed out the Tiny Rebel, so much so that people couldn't get served and they had to leave. I saw Tim at the game, stood next to him. We had a good sort of chat for 90 minutes. People you don't normally see. Beer Fuel coach back on the National Express. Just a beautiful day out that I'll probably remember for a long time. And in many ways, football's largely irrelevant to that. It's just more the sort of the camaraderie, the culture of a day out like that. Of course, it is nice to win, but the fact that we didn't hasn't ruined what was still a good experience. And Tim, you do the same. You travel up and down the country, following the team and meeting people you've not met for ages. I think before we get so sort of annoyed about a 1-0 victory, we do have to sort of thank ourselves how lucky we are that also we have a team that is able to go to places like that and more often than not probably win. We couldn't yesterday, but these are the good times. Let's enjoy them. Sorry, that sounded a bit like a soapbox then.
That wasn't so bad. I never thought I'd ever hear anybody say that an away day to Newport would be a beautiful day, especially.
Oh no, I just enjoyed it. I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I get what you mean, and it was good. Bumped into a few people on the train. It was a good laugh going down. Obviously went to a few places before the game. That was fun. And there was a little bit of an edgy atmosphere to it, which you're always going to get with games of that nature, and the history that's gone before it. And yeah, it was good. And the good thing about it is that the feel good factor was still there after. It's not like previous seasons gone by where you'll get a defeat and you're like, oh God, same old Wrexham, blah, blah, blah. Because it isn't. That yesterday was the more unusual Wrexham that we've thankfully not seen enough of. And we want it to stay that way. And whichever way you look at it, it's a 5th league defeat. I think that's 7 in total for the season, if you include the cup defeats to Burton and Bradford, I want to say. That's like one defeat on averages, 1 defeat a month since the start of the season. That if you break it down to basic maths, that's not bad. That's not bad. You could lose 10 games in this season and still go up. And I think we kind of regressed yesterday. Some of the fan base regressed because when we all knew we had that opportunity to go top because of the postponed game, even if we're all honest, in the back of our minds, you're like, we know what's coming. We know what's coming because Wrexham can't always be that giving. They just can't, and that's fine because it keeps us grounded. And you have to be grounded. You have to be realistic. And unfortunately, realism and football fans tend not to go hand in hand. So the kind of the knee jerk to a defeat is usually a little bit overboard. But then a couple of days later, things simmer down because we don't like losing. We certainly don't like losing to Newport. You know, we've had the bragging rights. They've had the bragging rights. It's an even keel. You know, if I know which position I'd rather be in, and it's not below mid-table. So,
No.
you know, we're still in a good place. We've got reinforcements to come in, and yeah, yesterday was a crappy, not the greatest spectacle, but that's going to happen from time to time, and we just got to get on with it. You take the loss, get past it. And let's look forward to the next couple of away days because they're going to be great. You know, they're both local. They're both fairly local-ish. You know, within an hour and a bit, big numbers, and it's just fun, isn't it? It's fun to watch Wrexham, irrespective of the home form and the away form being so different. It's still fun, and that's the big plus of these Hollywood years, if you like, is that the fun factor. Watching Wrexham has returned and it's sustained. And
No, I completely agree.
have your soapbox back?
Sorry?
Have your soapbox back? That's me.
Yeah,
Liam.
well, it is slight. What I will say is a slightly different fan base than what I for Wrexham going away, because there's so many people now, so many lapsed people, so many people who've come over from maybe Premier League football. They've been attracted because Wrexham's successful, and when they're not successful, can be some grumbles. I mean, me and you and Liam have had 20, 30 years of this, and maybe we're a little bit more even keeled. But you know, it's great to get those extra fans on board, and they will be entertained more than they're not. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is Paul Mullin. He ploughed a very sort of lone furrow up there yesterday. He looked quite frustrated at times. Is there anything up with Paul Mullin? Are we too harsh on him when he doesn't have a great game just because he is Paul Mullin and he's a victim of his own success? Liam, what do you think?
I'm not harsh on him because I think there's so many mitigating factors that come into it that, you know, like I said previously, he's in double figures. He's not in his best form, but we always have that massive injury to take into account. But also, I have always been of the opinion that Ollie Palmer is the best foil for Paul Mullin. Obviously, that's not been possible for one reason and another with injuries. But if there's a fully fit Ollie Palmer in the team, then I think, as Phil Parkinson identified in that first season, that's the sort of combination you need. So I don't think, you know, Fletcher and Dolby are both good players in their own right, but, you know, in terms of that combination, I think a lot of the time the supply lines, you know, we're knocking balls into the channel for him to run onto, and I think sort of defenses at this league seem to have sussed that out. Doesn't really seem to be troubling anyone. Wing backs not necessarily getting as many crosses in at the moment, which is also means he's left with pretty slim pickings. So for me, no, I'm not going to be harsh on Mullin, but interested to see what you think.
What I will say is Mullin's always been a better home player than he has been away player all through his Wrexham career, because that's just the nature of it. We're always on the front foot at home. I saw some Newport fans sort of fire up the criticism of, yeah, that's why Mullin will never play for Wales. Tim, what do you think about that? I mean,
that was a cheap shot from one of the Amber Army lads back when we defeated them in December. I mean, yeah, it didn't really trouble them that much that day, but these games are always going to be nip and tuck. You know, they're always going to take a few moments of quality to get over the line, and that was the case for them yesterday. They had one decent header. They were a bit crappy in front of goal thereafter. So, I mean, the whole Wales argument is irrelevant now, and I was
I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's
No,
going
no, I don't think he is. As much as I'd love to see it, it's not going to happen, barring any disasters in Rob Page's squad and Mullin goes on a mad run of form. So, he's doing his best, but you can't score goals if you don't get the service. We got better service in the food kiosks than what Paul Mullin got on the pitch yesterday. It was just, I mean, I don't want to labour point. I just thought we were really, really bad yesterday, and you can't disguise that. It was just crap. It was crap, right? That's a fact. And there's a lot of pressure on Mullin to perform. He's doing his best. Is his best good enough at the moment? No, but that's not his fault alone. That's a team effort. You know, when the service comes to him, great. But there was nothing into him yesterday. Well, I said to you that you definitely feel there's a yard of pace that's been lost, and
Yeah.
I still stand by that, because you watch him week in, week out and think it's not quite as quick as he was. Doesn't matter, because he's still a clever player and he's still a natural goal scorer. It's just not a massive issue. But
Why isn't he as quick? Is it
I don't
because
know.
age is catching up? He's only 29. Is it
Maybe.
the injury
I mean,
he had?
is it the injury? Because we touched on Tushimanga yesterday about he's never been the same after that injury,
Yeah.
and he's just completely pale shadowed what he is. Luckily, that hasn't happened to Paul Mullin. But I just think that times like yesterday was where that whole debacle of not getting Luke Armstrong in came to bite us on the ass, because where you've got Fletcher, he succumbed to injury. Dalby was sacrificed early doors when Boyle got sent off. Then you've got young lad in Bickerstaff. Palmer's still making his way back from injury. There's nobody else there. So there's moments like that thinking, who else have we got that can come on and do a job? And we haven't really figured that conundrum out yet. It's still not quite there. You've got the two main guys that you go to guys. Then we've got like a seasoned veteran who's hit a bit of form, but because of his age, he's going to be prone to injury, which is what happened yesterday. So we need to look at that. We need to look at that pretty sharpish, I would say. And yeah, it's a good test of Parky's credentials right now, because we don't lose 2 games in a row. The last time we did it was 2 seasons ago, where we lost in the trophy final and we lost at Dagenham, I think. Other than that, we've not lost back to back wins, so that's ominous warnings for Blackburn. If we were to lose, then the sort of the detractors come out again. Is this a mini crisis? Well,
I think it's a mini crisis if we lose at Salford, because
maybe, but again, you look at, and I don't want to make unfair comparisons, but Shrewsbury just sacked Taylor, haven't they, today? Right, awful run of form, massive, horrible spot from, didn't know winning 8 or lost 7 out of 8, something like. And we contribute to that. Great. That's a mini crisis over the course of a wider season. Us losing 2 in a row is a slight cause for concern, because we don't expect it. But you know what? I don't expect that to happen. I expect there to be a response, and we're going to have more bodies on the ground back from the injury table. So,
right, okay, you've touched on it then, so let's get into it. Why are we so bad away from home compared to at home? At home, we're absolutely, what are we, best home form in the top 4 divisions, something like that? Away from home, right, so this is from some stats from Richard Sutcliffe, who covers the club for The Athletic. Wrexham have 43 goals and 35 points at home, but just 11 goals and 17 points on the road. Right, I don't know, XG, it sort of confuses me a little bit. Liam, you look like the sort of youngster who might know what XG is.
I fucking hate it. Can't stand it.
Okay, well, we're not going to come to Liam for this one then. But the XG, the expected goals, I think it takes into account how many chances you're creating, things like that, to see how many goals you should be scoring from your performance. Wrexham, the best performing home team and the worst performing away team. Why are we so bad away from home? Liam, do you want to go first? Oh, that's a bad person to ask, because A, you hate XG, and B, you never bloody go away.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really put a finger on it scientifically. I mean, we did this to death early doors in the Parkinson reign, didn't we? We had a few podcasts where we discussed this very issue. Sometimes I do wonder if it's down to sort of narrower pitches, quite closed in situations. We don't really seem to get the best out of the toes of throw away from home, partly because a lot of the touch lines are quite narrow, like Newport was, I thought. But
I've seen them worse.
I've definitely seen them worse. But generally speaking, it's not the same, width. You don't have as much room as you do at the race course. That feels like a bit of a circumstantial thing, really. I don't think you can pin it too much on that. It's just, again, I think it's just adapting to circumstances as well. We tend to play the same game regardless of what happens. I don't feel like we've, I can't remember too many occasions. He's made changes within the system, but he's never really, gone as far as to change formation massively or anything like that. And I do think that's one criticism that's perhaps stuck a little bit more than others with Parkinson.
Yeah. Right. I've got something, Tim. What do you think about this? I think one of the contributing factors is there is zero pace in that team. And you can tell yesterday we had to put our right wing back up front just to trouble them a little bit. Zero pace means that their centre halves can step up a little bit, squeeze the play and really squeeze us in. And I think we struggle with quite a tight, when it's quite tight like that, our sort of intricate passing doesn't work as well as someone just grabbing it and turning the play quickly. So I do think pace is a factor why we don't do well away from home. But I also think it doesn't matter as much at home because we're always on the front foot. We're always like that 10 yards further forward. So you're never really going to catch anyone on the break at home, but you might have to away. Do you sort of agree with that? And B, do you think he might address this in the transfer window?
Yeah, I think, well, yes to both, because it's been clear for some time that we lack pace across the park, really. I mean, who's our fastest player? Ryan Barnett? Or James Jones is our fittest, but he's not the fastest. So
also, he's never going to break the lines and do a long busting run with or without the ball, really, is he? So
no, we've got the experience, we've got the guile, and we've got the tenacity, blah blah blah. But yeah, we've got a slightly cumbersome pace about us, which
we're one paced, aren't we? We're one paced.
Yeah, which is a little bit worrying, and I'm sure you'd like to think that the management team will have seen that and look to address it, because Mendy, again, one of the fastest players in the squad, and he's not with us at the moment, so it's a difficult one to iron out. However, before I have my sort of 10 pence worth on this matter, Liam probably was the best person to ask about this, because I was simply going to ask Liam, right? How do you feel when you know that Wrexham are playing at home? How do you feel in the sort of minutes or hours leading up to that game? And let's just say that you then go to an away game. What's your overriding feeling before you step onto that bus to go to an away game? I'll tell you why in a minute.
I mean, it's very different. Like when I'm pre-match these days, I'm usually preoccupied with what my plans are, meeting mates, that sort of thing. I'm not really. I used to get pretty nervous before matches, but I've said it many times. I've been making predictions. I don't worry about Wrexham at home. Yeah, we had the odd shaky moment early on in the season, but that got sorted out pretty quickly. And even though our performances haven't maybe been amazing over the last couple of weeks, we've still managed to find different ways to win a match. Now, when it comes to away games, I do think it is a very different prospect. You do have that slight feeling of this could go either way. I was looking at Newport's results before the game, and I was thinking they don't concede that many goals at home here. They don't score many, but it's one of those situations with us away from home. If they score one, are we going to be able to catch up because we've struggled so much for goals? So yeah, you do feel more nervous. It's a very different prospect between the two.
And I think those very fluctuating feelings and thought processes to those home and away games, respectively, can probably be applied to a certain aspect of the players' mentality, because they know at home they are there's almost an air of invincibility to them now.
An air of arrogance there, that we will find a way to win.
But you ask why we're so rubbish away. The same question could be asked of whoever comes and plays us next. They'll go, why are teams going to Wrexham and not turning them over? Why are they struggling there? And that question will be asked. And on the flip side to that, I think, this Wrexham team, as good as they are, and I think Coughlin, the Newport County manager, described them as mentality monsters in the build-up to the game, which might have been a little bit of reverse psychology. But I think in a weird way, and I could be completely wrong about it, but I just wonder if there's a little bit of nagging doubt in some of the players' minds, which must make them wonder, why are we not picking up enough points away on the road? Why is that? Why are we so good at home where we're well backed, but we're well backed on the road, right? Which we are. But for whatever reason, you'll go to these places, let's face it, Rodney Parade, not exactly the nicest ground on earth. They will have gone there and the club will have made it as uncomfortable as they possibly could for them at every given opportunity. Just the little dark arts. The little dark arts hit every turn. They would have tried that. They would have tried it on. We want you to come here. We're going to take you down a peg or two. And that's what teams want to do. And they will do whatever it takes to do that. So I think there is an element that we need to get past that says, you know what, there is an element of arrogance away. And whilst Wrexham are very respectful of the opposition, I think they need to maybe take some of that arrogance into the away games with them and go, right, fuck this. Let's forget about the crowd being on our back. Let's forget about the narrow pitches. Let's forget about this, that, and the other. Let's just take care of business and get on with it. And I fully expect us to do that. I think the tide is going to turn at some point. Not at the expense of our home form, though, I hope.
Yeah, I think another thing that we're sort of getting near now is a lot of teams are going to be losing key people through suspension and injury. We're just getting to that part of the season. I do think our squad is stronger than many, and I think we will be able to put out some equally decent teams, even though we've got a big injury crisis at the moment. I mean, I can't really work out why, but all of a sudden it's crept up on us. Right, stick with me on this one. Are our medics too good? Now it sounds like a silly thing to say, but are they sort of really protective? Are they using all the latest techniques to see how our players are, and maybe even sort of taking out the notion that they might play through the playing barrier or anything like that? I mean, I don't know, but it seems like we've got a very, very high tech, good medical team. Maybe even probably a championship standard one, but it's not helping us getting bodies out on the pitch, really, is it? I mean, if you think about the sort of range of injuries we have, a lot of them do seem to happen in training. Tom O'Connor, we didn't even know about, Liam.
Yeah, I think that was a fracture, though, wasn't it? A fractured foot as opposed to anything else. I wouldn't put it down to the medical team as such, because I find that quite often the time for the players to return is pretty quick, and they've sort of done
maybe. Well, sorry to what my sort of point was for, which was quite ham-fistedly made. Yes, okay, maybe they are taking people out the firing line, but you're right, they are getting them back pretty quickly, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't. I've wondered if it's more to do with things like sort of style of play and conditioning and things like that, because Phil Parkinson's sides are very hard-working teams. They work their absolute bollocks off. So part of me wonders if it's perhaps down to that. But you're right, the absolute range of them is, some of them completely freakish as well. You think of Mullin's injury, Okonkwo's injury. I think some of those you actually can't account for too much. They were freakish in nature, but it has become a bit of an issue at the moment, especially when at one stage you looked at our list of centre backs and God, Christ, we got a ridiculous strength in depth there. Now a lot of them are walking wounded, and we're down to pretty much the bare bones. So I couldn't quite put a finger on what's caused it, but I do think we've got an issue there, and perhaps we'll probably come on to it. But new bodies is where that sort of partly gets addressed.
Do you think it's there's more and more high tempo training matches at the expense of a lack of reserve team fixtures or anything like that? Because Parky said we've got a reserve game lined up on Tuesday, but I couldn't tell you when the last one was.
Oh, it's the first one in ages, isn't it? That's why you've had to send Scott Butler on loan, isn't it? Because you can't play him.
That's a problem, isn't it? Especially to get walking wounded back.
I would say so. I mean, I remember the days of covering reserve games for Wrexham when I was first starting out. They used to be every week, and they used to be at the racecourse with against good teams, and they just seem to be so haphazard. I don't think there's any sort of reserve league or anything, is there? Or is it just whenever they can fit something in? The one good thing about us bringing back the reserve side was you thought, well, at least some of these players on the fringes will get regular games, and that just doesn't seem to be the case. But what I would say is, though, I wouldn't have thought that training ground matches should be that sort of high tempo, really, should they? I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's training, isn't it? It's not. Yeah, I would have probably thought that a reserve team game would probably be more competitive than a training.
You'd
match.
hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one, but I'm sure the medical team are doing their level best. And I think we've had a shitload of bad luck, and we
well, let's get it out of the way now. Let's get it out of the way now, and let's not have it at the end of the season like we did a couple of seasons ago, where we seem to lose everyone.
Stockport are missing 11 key players according to their fans yesterday. We're missing several as well, so it's happening to the kind of the top few sides as well. So every team's going to have it. Every team's going to have it. It's now a big test of their recruitment credentials, and because this is an important window. It is now more than ever. I think so. It'd be very, very interesting to see what happens. I think we're going to see some incomings, maybe much sooner rather than later now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So we are, what's the date today? 21 days into the transfer window. Still nothing. Now, yes, this squad didn't need wholesale changes. It needed a tweak here and there. We've also said we thought it would be 2 or 3 with a couple of people moving out. Well, the people have been moved out. Now, surely it's the time to bring someone in. We've got a week until the next game. Liam, do you expect us to do some business this week? And if so, where's it going to be? Who is it? That's what I want to know. Who is it going to be?
I think the club's sticking pretty rigidly to its plan, which is always seems to be they're willing to go right down to the wire in order to get the targets that they want. I think it was, again, Rich Sutcliffe from The Athletic did an article explaining how I think it was Elliot Lee had been our number one target during that preseason, but it actually took quite a while to get everything sorted. Same with George Evans as well. Parkinson's not a man who's happy to go down his list of targets and go, okay, we can't have him. We'll go down there. It's basically, I want that man, and I'll wait as long as possible to try and get them. I think maybe when defeats like this happen, it does sort of prod people and provoke them into thinking we need to get them in right now. But I honestly can't see the club sort of changing its tactics based on one result or a couple of injuries here and there. It just strikes me as, I don't know, I think Sean Harvey's gone into it a couple of times, as well as been a couple of interviews with him lately. And they are very much set in their mindset of what they want to do. I don't know who it's going to be. I like you actually, Andy, I've come to quite round to the idea of what's your Irish man called? Your Irish striker.
Is it Curtis, is it? Oh, Ronan.
Hale,
that's it. Yeah, sorry. Curtis is the guy that Wimbledon signed this week. Yeah,
there's been a few more, just I've looked into it a bit more this week, and it just seems like the sort of striker that we need. I definitely wouldn't say no to, unlike Andy Gilpin, I wouldn't say no to Johnson, Clark, Harris.
No, I mean, I didn't say no to him. I just thought it's going to be a very expensive deal.
The people of YouTube thought you said no to him.
Well, okay. I didn't say no to him. I mean, if he signed tomorrow, I'd be absolutely made up. Of course I would be. But, bringing a player in like that, he'd obviously be one of your top earners. You'd have to then probably get parity with Mullin and Lee on that. It becomes a very expensive proposition.
No, I'm with you on it. I'm with you on that.
But, that's why I thought maybe the lad Hale might be more of a gamble, of course, but they could even, because he's that unexpected air around him, it could even pay off more. You don't know, because
he's in demand as well, isn't he?
Yeah, what's the resale value on the Clark Harris going to be compared to the Irish kid if he absolutely kicks on? But no. I mean, Tim, let's talk about him, because he still hasn't signed for Charlton. That was supposed to be the deal that was more or less done and dusted. Are we waiting on a big name signing like that? Big name in many ways.
Yeah, potentially. And the more I think about it just now, I kind of feel Parky's going to be inclined to go with what he's got for Blackburn, and he's got literally 14 days to get people in for Salford. Then I think he's going to look at it with that approach, really. Because it didn't do us any harm last season. He made a lot of changes with commentary, and look how that turned out. So I think he'll go with that. With him willing to play the waiting game, I think he's going to have to. I think he's going to have to start hurrying things up a bit. I think it's all very well sort of showing your hand late on, but as we saw with the Armstrong thing, it could come to bite you on the arse, and they're going to be keen for that not to happen again. Because that would be a PR disaster.
That can't happen again. I mean, it's
No,
going to be great
exactly.
TV when that hits the dock, but
yeah, it was kind of glossed over a little bit. And we were fortunate with it because of the time of night by which we were doing it, and it was all a bit not unsavory, but unfortunate at the end of the day. So I think he'll be keen to avoid a repetition of that happening. I don't know about the Johnson Clark Harris thing. The longer it goes on, the kind of longer I'm inclined to think it's not going to happen. I don't know. I just think he's holding out for something down that neck of the woods, to be perfectly honest. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we keep saying it that on the recruitment front, he tends to have more hits than misses. You kind of sadly we kind of feel like we're putting Boyle as the most recent one in that latter category. But everybody likes a good redemption story, don't they? Look at Andy Cannon. We all thought he was done and dusted. One of the 5 players who've been sent off this season. He's come back and more than proved his worth.
Lion, we need Boyle to see a pants on the way back.
He was a massive miss yesterday. I thought he was a huge miss. Just a bit of mobility and go forward with him. So
he breaks the lines. I mean, I like the fact that he's got the confidence now to take the ball and actually run with it and turn midfielders the other way. So yeah, in a tight space, that never really sort of discount how important that can be. Just when you talked about YouTube distractors, Liam, there's another point I want to clarify from last week about the big debate on Fletcher and McLean. Do we give them new deals? So I think Fletcher sort of proves a little bit yesterday. Wasn't available. Look, anyone can get injured. Fair enough. I think McLean is a bit of a different one. He's not a specialised left wing back. Didn't really offer much yesterday, but no one did. I think it's fine to keep the likes of James McLean for another year. His fitness is there. If you're still in League 2 or are happy in the lower reaches of League 1. But I think if you really want to evolve this team, you're going to need a first choice left wing back next season. I don't think it's James McLean. I'll be absolutely honest on that. It might be Mendy. It might not be. I would say that you really want to sort of nail down that position for next season. And if you can get McLean on reduced terms, keep him around the club. He can play a number of positions. He can fill in at left wing back every now and again. He could play midfield. He could play up front. But
keep him around the club like a station cat, like Dave Jones.
But but if he's a big earner, I would look for someone younger. I really would. That's just me. People might disagree.
Do you want to hear what some people said about it?
What are you? Someone called us ungrateful.
Crazy talk. That was a pile of bollocks. Bollocks spelt with an X.
Fair enough.
Are these our American friends, or do we think we're local? Because
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everyone's got an opinion. Fletcher. Fletcher is great when he's fit, but there's been large swathes of this season where he hasn't been. If you want what Fletcher brings, then maybe get a Fletcher type player who's a little bit younger and can play more often. Now, you're not going to get anyone as good as Fletcher for League One level, but you can get someone who you can mould into that really. And maybe they thought Armstrong was that player, but it never really happened. Pair him with Mullin and build your side around that. I'd probably say that is probably our number one priority, either this window or the next.
This comment's definitely from Wrexham. It says, "Give your head a wobble."
Oh yeah, that's from Wrexham. Yeah. Is that
Do it, Andy. Do it.
Is that from my dad? My head is wobbling.
Don't put that out of context. After the Churchill adverts. Oh yeah.
Oh no. All right, okay. Let's try and wrap this up, boys. Any other business? First off,
yes.
Neal's
big planning. Did we discuss the discipline issue? How much of an issue it really has become?
We didn't discuss food either, did we?
No, we've got food, and you need to just to put it in here in case because I know there's a massive clamour for it. Book of Okonkwo is on the shelf this week. However, Andy, Liam, and Rhys are going to have the opportunity to nominate a song.
Let's do it
for
now.
interview
Let's
next
do it
week.
now. Let's get this out of the way.
Well, yeah,
You
we'll
know
get
what I
Rhys in.
want.
Well, once we know he survived the storm and managed to put
No,
his shed
Rhys
back together.
he's emailed in and said he wants the wind of change.
He hasn't done that, but I'll confirm that with him first. But yeah, I reckon I can make that
Wind
work.
that changed his life tonight.
I could. Yeah, all right. I finally got it now. I've not had enough coffee. Right, go on then. Hit me with your Book of a Concord nomination, and we will
So,
put it
yeah.
to the public vote on Twitter. So you guys
So Rhys
get.
has gone for Wind of Change. I want Phantom of the Opera because I think it will fit quite well, and I want to see your range, Timothy.
I went a bit off with the Elton John last week. I went to the highs instead of going for the Barry Whites. I
You're a
should've gone
Welshman,
low.
mate. Aim for the lows. Always the lows.
This is
Yeah,
probably
it's like
along similar lines to Elton a little bit. I've gone Christaberg, Lady in Red.
Ooh.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, all right.
shining for me.
All right. No, well, yeah, all right. So we got Christaberg, Lady in Red. And
What's
he's gone
yours?
for
You need one as
Phantom of the
well.
Well, no, I'm not going to put myself forward. I'll take. We'll go for the 3, and then there can be we can go. Well, actually, no, I will put myself forward for 1. Yeah, fine, we'll do that. I don't know what it's going to be yet, so I'm going to pick a. Oh, I don't know. It's got to be some sort of rock band, isn't it? Something like that. I'm going to say White Snake randomly. Here I go again on my own. Yeah, here I go again. Right. I'll try that one because I think that works
for this feature. Actually, here he goes again on his own.
Yes, very well done.
All right,
good link.
Let's talk about discipline, and then let's wrap it up with any other business. Can you legislate for a referee making that decision yesterday? Probably not. I mean, I don't think Parkinson is setting us up as a dirty side. That's my 2 pence on that. I just think sometimes I don't know who even the fact that referees are because it's such a high profile game. Maybe they think they're under more scrutiny and they have to make every decision by the book rather than using common sense. I don't know. I just don't see us as a dirty side. And if you think of our actual disciplinary overall, there's not too many yellow cards. It's just reds. Now that's terrible because we're going down to 10 men, but that sort of points to the fact that I don't think we're inherently a dirty side. Liam?
I'm going to hang my hat on the fact that officials in this league are very card happy. I've noticed it from day one. And the thing that annoys me about it is the lack of consistency as well. You see certain things get punished quite easily, yet someone's got Ollie Palmer's shirt up in the air like that, hanging on to him, and nothing ever gets done about things like that. So I'm inclined to agree with you. We're not a dirty side, but perhaps sometimes players do need to be aware and get accustomed to the fact that the referees in this league are like that, or their assistants, as was the case yesterday, and we just might need to be a bit smarter.
I do. Before we come to Tim, I do think one thing about that. I think referees in League Two, they are the young up and coming ones, aren't they? So maybe they are trying to make a name, or trying to impress whoever that might be. So I think maybe you don't have too many of your experienced old stages, and that might be an issue as well. Tim, anything to add on this?
No, I think that's a valid point about the refereeing. I just also think that last year, I think there was a lot of emphasis placed on the disciplinary aspect because we had to try and keep as consistent a side as possible to maintain that level of consistency at the top of the table. It just had to be done. Couldn't afford for that much disruption to happen because the minute that happens, the minute you lose your consistency and the momentum. So I think they were quite a hard line on it. I don't think it's consciously been relaxed, but I think they've just allowed a little bit of complacency to creep in on the disciplinary front. When you've got players like McLean, who's on like 8 bookings already, that's going to creep up.
Get booked. I'm amazed he hasn't been sent off.
Yeah, so am I. Touch wood, don't say that, Christ. So I think there's been a little bit where you can go, you know what, just flex your muscles a little bit more, and maybe take the hit. But I think, yes, we've had 5 sending offs now. we're still second, so I wouldn't say it's had a hugely detrimental impact. But yeah, we're not a dirty side, not in the slightest. I just think we've just been allowed to sort of take the sort of reins off a little bit more. I think because we can afford to do so a bit more in this league. I think.
Fair
That
enough.
makes
Well
sense.
put.
Mm.
Well put.
Yeah.
Right.
Can we
Let's-
just mention the ladies first because that's in my head? Obviously,
Yeah.
we've
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
shit time in South Wales with obviously the Newport loss, and then today the women lost to essentially their nemesis now, which is Cardiff City, league leaders, unbeaten. Cardiff won 3-0. They were very good, Cardiff, to be fair. Wrexham weren't really at the races, had a lot of injuries. So,
I mean,
but
Rosie
yeah,
Hughes didn't start, did she?
she came on. She came off the bench because she's been injured, so she's got a few minutes under her belt. So it was good to see. And yeah, it was Steve Dale's 50th game in charge. Didn't quite get the result that they would have wanted to have got for him, but it's still a learning curve, and they're still well in a hunt for top 3, top 4 spot at the first time of asking in this division. So you know what? Yeah, you played Cardiff, I think 3 times now this season. They've lost a lot, but they'll learn a lot more from it than the odd win. So I think they'll be all the more stronger for it next season as well when those games come around.
I think you're right there. It's Cardiff is what they aspire to, and they
Yeah.
are a newly promoted side. So it's a very tough ask for them to come up and beat a side like Cardiff straight away. So yeah, they will be better prepared next season for it.
However, surprised at the attendance, 1,319 at the Cardiff City Stadium.
I bet there was a lot of Wrexham there. People who stayed
I
down
think
and maybe
there would have
drove
been
down
a few. I just think considering that Cardiff are always thereabouts and they're always pushing for Europe, and they've been in Europe, and they're the kind of like the team to beat in Welsh women's football. That's a pretty poor turnout, I think. Be
No,
interesting if it's on the other foot, at the racecourse. We all know what would happen, but there we are. I digress.
Okay. I cracked. I am one of the 7,000 who are coming to Blackburn. Yeah.
How many days off do you book for it?
Well, this is the clever thing. What I've done is I've worked Sunday. I'm going to take Monday as my loo day, and I'm going to work late on Tuesday. So I'm actually not taking any holidays. I'm meeting a fella called Martin who I've never met before on the corner of the M285, and we're going to drive up and split the petrol.
You're going dogging on the way to Blackburn.
No, I don't know what the hell you mean.
You're having a loo day. That's LIEU, not elder below for anybody who was unsure.
I wondered why he didn't have a nickname yet. Your friends usually have nicknames, but you sort of got to wait with him. I thought it was going to be like French Marty or something like that.
If it's Martin, you know it's not coming.
Motorway Martin. Motorway Martin, is it?
Yeah, Motorway Martin's fine. Yeah. I'm having that. But just going back to back the away days, it's all about this, isn't it? Meeting someone you don't know, going up to a game together. Great. I'm really looking forward to it. I just couldn't.
I really hope it's Martin Riley. That would make me laugh so much.
I would like that.
He would convince you that the earth is flat, and he would tell you that you should have had more COVID injections, probably. Allegedly.
Yeah. But I've never been to Ewood Park. It's the 4th round of the cup. How many times are we going to get to the 4th round of the cup? Hopefully a lot, but you don't know. So I just can't. I would hated to have just been watching it on telly. I had to go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it's absolutely brilliant that they've sold out their allocation for a Monday night, and well done to everyone for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Even Liam's going to be there. That's how nuts this game's going to be. Other big news: our McNeil has walked all the way to Old Trafford. Tim, you know more about this?
Yeah, Neal, very good lad. Neal Smith. He basically spent best part of 3 days walking from Denby to Old Trafford in memory of his brother Chris, who sadly passed away recently. Chris was a massive Man United fan, hence why Neal decided to finish the journey at Old Trafford. As of this moment, he kept on upping the target because I think initially it was like £1,000 or £1,500. He's now just raised over £5,000 for
brilliant.
the Mind mental health charity. So there's a massive well done to Neal. But if you can still give, please go and sponsor him. I'm trying to find the
Can you pop it in? Pop it
Yeah,
on
I'll pop in the
YouTube,
link on the YouTube link. I think I did that last time, so I'll put that up there again. It's a massive walk. You know, it is a massive walk. It's a massive effort. So well done to Neal. I'm sure your brother would be very proud of you, mate. So well done to you. And yeah, get yourself a well-earned pizza and a hot bath, I'd say.
Absolutely. Mendy at the AFCON. Are you watching any of the games, Liam?
I haven't. No, I've not got that much time on my hands. You know, as you know, I'm such a busy man. I just haven't got time for these things. But I've been keeping track though, because I was very worried about him when the plane incident happened. I thought, what are they doing to our Jacob? But he seems to. Did he start the last game?
He did. I watched it.
Seems to got quite a lot of rave reviews on social media from Gambia fans saying that's our left back situation sorted, basically, because they did have Ibu Toure from Stockport.
Oh, isn't it great to put one over Stockport in the same sort of notion? Well, I watched the game and it was like, do you ever play the FIFA where you just play one person? Where you got like it was just a bit like that. All my sort of energy and attention was just on Jacob, and it didn't matter what else was going on in the game. I was just wanting him to do well. I'm out shouting cover and things like that. But I think he had a good game, and I think it's great for him to go to a tournament like that. I think it will do wonders for his confidence. He'll be pitting himself against some Premier League level players, and he will come back a better player for that. Yeah. So, well done.
You can think so.
Sorry,
I was just gonna say you can think selfishly about it and say, "Oh, I wish he was worse." But I think you're right. It's a great opportunity for him, and fingers crossed, comes back all the more confident for it.
Definitely. Tim, anything to add before we say goodbye? We won't do predictions today because we're hoping to sneak in a Blackburn preview special before.
We are going to sneak it in.
And how's Rhys going to excuse himself from that one? What's his excuse?
I don't know.
The roof's come off.
My hamster blew up, something like that.
I've been enlisted in the army. I don't know, something. I'm joining the Foreign Legion.
We can create that game, Rhys's excuses. I don't think there's anything else to add off the top of my head. Just want to say thank you to everybody who's done one of the buy us a coffee things to help us with the upkeep of the pod, because I know Andy said at the start about the Fat Boy give us some bits, and they do to help with certain things for the pod, but there's still other costs which we do incur, which help towards it. So thank you for that. So yeah, go on our
bit to charity as well. So that's great.
Yeah, so go to our link tree and the stuff's there about the buy us a coffee, which is very nice. So
buy us a scampi and chips if you want as well.
Yeah,
if
you like. Food.
This is what I had. Food. Right, this is a full day of food yesterday. Right, I had special K red berries in the morning. Then I had an M&S meal deal of a BLT. Some olives and feta in a little bowl, and a pink lemonade. Now, when I brought out the olives, the lads I was on the coach with, they couldn't believe it just wasn't crisps. Anyway, got to Newport. I had 2 chicken strips and a cheese and onion pasty from Greg's. Nothing really chucking out there, but I was still hungry, so I had chicken wings and loaded fries from Tiny Rebel. Tap bar in the middle of Newport, which I thoroughly recommend. Is really good bar there. If they just had a few more bar staff on, it would have been perfect. I was still hungry, and yeah, I had on the way back. Don't judge me. Those Sainsbury's cookies. You get a pack of 5 for about £1.30 from the bakery. I ate all 5 on the way back.
You can put it away, can't you? Bloody hell!
Absolutely, do not owe anyone an apology for that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So yes,
good evening, good evening, diabetes. This is Andy Gilpin. Nice to meet you.
I've eaten extremely well today to make up for yesterday.
I had the only food I want to concentrate on really is the one I had at Newport itself. The catering trucks around the back were not too bad. There was a double chicken burger. I think it was about £8. I was like, oh, it looks quite nice. Sort of southern fried sort of fillets. I'll give it a go. So I asked for it, and then she just whacked these 2 fillets on a bun, and she went, "Do you want lettuce?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll have a little bit of lettuce." She literally just put like a leaf of lettuce on this bun, wasn't buttered or anything. It's just a bit weird. Football food for the large part is still shit, and nothing's ever going to beat Kidderminster Harriers and their fabled cottage pies.
Oh God, the cottage pies.
know.
I mean, we sound
So
like Mark
annoying.
Griffiths here, don't we? We need to let's not make this a regular
Steal his
feature.
thunder. Don't steal his pie thunder. That would upset him. No, it won't. He's not. He's a very hard man to upset, to be fair. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. We've waffled, but it's been a good waffle, an enjoyable waffle, not potato waffle. That probably cost about £8 in Newport as well, but it's been a good waffle. I think we've got a lot off our chest. It's been nice to actually moan for a change. We've had it all too easy. Too many sunshines and rainbows in recent.
You know what,
months.
mate? Every time when I was covering Wrexham and covering football teams, I always found a losing match report a lot easier to write than a winning one.
Yeah.
It just sort of concentrates your thoughts a little bit on what goes wrong. I'm always up for this. I'm just worried about Rhys now, caught in a hurricane.
I mean,
the tornado
plus
of
side
the
is
Swansea Valley.
if he's no longer with us, I don't have to do Windsor change. That's the only kind of plus side to it, I suppose.
Okay. Well, can you all vote for Windsor Change as the memorial Rhys Williams song, please? We want a whistle as well. Right. Okay. On that bombshell, let's end it for tonight. Goodbye from me.
Oh, is it? We're doing it that way, are we? Goodbye from me, and goodbye from you. It's like, is that University Challenge, was it? I can't remember.
No, it was Morecambe and Wise, isn't it? Or something.
Oh yeah, something like that.
The two Ronnies, of course. It was the two Ronnies.
Up the unbearable red.
From him.
Up the unbearable red.
Pray for Rhys's back doors.
Yeah. Oof, crikey.
All right.
Parky in. Good night.
Good night.